Okay, thank you all for joining us today for our webinar on behavioral health awareness for NYC parents and caregivers. My name is Priya Khan. I'm the program manager for the Harlem Health Initiative here at CUNY-SPH. Thank you all for also filling out our welcome poll. We are going to get started with our moderator, Shana. If you'd like to introduce yourself. And first, just wanted to say thank you to our partners, CUNY-SPH, Charlie Health, and Fidelis Care for working with us on this webinar and including our speakers. Shana, I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you, Priya. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Shana Pereira. I'm a first-generation American and first-generation college graduate from Brooklyn, New York. I hold an associate's degree in criminal justice from ASA College, a bachelor's of science in social work from Medgar Evers College, and a master's of social work from Yeshiva University. I'm also a Navy veteran, a mother of two beautiful children, and I'm very, very passionate of social work and all things advocacy, especially as it relates to immigration and education. I have over 15 years of experience um, working with children in many different capacities, including the New York City Department of Education, having experience as a paraprofessional, social work intern, and a school social worker. I'm currently working as a group facilitator for Charlie Health, seeing a diverse group of clients all across America overcome their trauma. My goal in life is to be the social worker that I needed as a child. So again, I would like to welcome you all to our webinar for the Harlem Health Initiative. And next slide, please. So starting off today, we'll be discussing what is behavioral health. So behavioral health is how children think, feel, act, and communicate. It includes emotions, behaviors, and how children handle stress, relationships, and daily routines. Next slide, please. Why does this matter? Many children in New York City struggle with behavioral health challenges, but families often face long waits, confusion, or stigmas when trying to get help. Early support can improve school, home life, and friendships. So, just a little bit of statistics. 1 in 6 US children have behavioral health diagnoses, but only half get the help they need. More than 40% of New York City teens feel persistently sad or hopeless. Up to 70% of children with behavioral health needs don't get treatment. So let that sink in for a while. Next slide, please. All right. So these are some signs to watch in for your children, your students. If you're a caregiver of any sort, big mood swings. Their mood can go from very happy to very sad in the snap of a finger. Trouble focusing, um, problems staying on task, problems focusing in school, problems if it's a given chore in the home and they have a problem completing the chore, acting out, sometimes provoked or unprovoked, and sleeping problems, maybe not sleeping through the night and they're 5 or 6. These are some issues these are some signs to watch for. Next slide, please. So questions to ask. Maybe you want to ask these questions to your child's teacher, your child's caregiver, if they're still in the daycare or nursery school age, your pediatrician, if you have your children in counseling, or if you have a caseworker for any reason. These might be some questions that you want to jot down and ask them so you can better advocate for your child and get the help that they might need in the moment. So, how can I help my child at home? Should I get a mental health referral? Where can I find more resources? How can their school support them? What treatment can help? What does this mean for my children, for my child? Next slide, please. All right, and now I have the pleasure of passing it off to our next speaker, Kellieann Jatta, Understanding Behavioral Health Needs and Getting Support. Kellieann?
Thank you, Shana. I appreciate the handoff. And some of the items that you have mentioned, I'm also going to touch on in my slide. So good afternoon, everyone. I am Kellieann Jatta. I'm a licensed mental health counselor with 9 years of experience serving children and families within the New York City area. I'm currently a supervisor at a New York State health insurance company, ensuring that children and youth receive the adequate behavioral health support for optimal functioning within their home and community. Next slide, please. So we have a few items listed on this slide, and I'm going to talk about each item. First, we're going to talk about common diagnoses. So there are 4 common diagnoses that you may tend to hear around the children age group, but please consult with a licensed clinician on any diagnosis that you think your child may have at this time. The first one that I'm going to discuss is anxiety. There are many different types of anxiety, but for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to talk about generalized anxiety disorder. Anxiety is the anticipation of future threat, which may also encompass some avoidant behaviors. The child may tend to overestimate the danger that they may think is going to happen. There are, of course, normal levels of anxiety, but then there's also persistent anxiety that happens ongoing for more than 6 months. Many anxiety disorders develop in childhood and tend to persist if it's not treated appropriately. Some examples of anxiety is, let's just say a child is crying when the parents leave the room. That is a degree that is developmentally inappropriate. So, of course, if a child is crying, if a toddler, a newborn is crying, that's age appropriate. But if you have a 9-year-old that's crying, that might not be age appropriate if as they should know at this point, that they need to go to school every day and mom is going to come back to pick them up, or a guardian is going to come to pick them up from school or from another caretaker. Also, if the child is indicating that they're experiencing any nightmares, that something bad may happen to a child to a parent, I'm sorry, without any given information on why they feel that way, or if you notice any physical symptoms of distress. Another example is sometimes kids have anxiety around test taking, where it impacts their performance despite being very versed in the material that they're being tested on. That's just very high level on anxiety. Another common diagnosis is ADHD, also known as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it is a neurodevelopmental disorder with onset in the developmental period. So, while a child is growing up, and symptoms are usually present before the child enters grade school, with impairing levels of either inattention, disorganization, and or hyperactivity. Some examples can be just noticing that the child has the inability to stay on task, seeming that the child is not listening. Maybe you're telling them to complete a task and they're not listening to what you're requiring of them at that time. You may notice that the child is very fidgety. You may notice that they are unable to stay seated, or they may have an inability to wait. Maybe you're working on a task and you let them know that you'll get back to them within 3 minutes, but they need you to attend to their needs right away. Of course, age appropriate. Another common diagnosis is autism, which is also a neurodevelopmental disorder with onset in the developmental period. So it's in the same family as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And it is symptoms in social communications and social interactions across multiple contexts. So it includes social reciprocity, nonverbal communication, and behaviors used for social interactions. Can also be skills in developing and also maintaining and understanding relationships if they have issues in that area. You may also notice some repetitive patterns or behaviors, or if there's also repetitive patterns in like what they are into, such as their interests or activities. Symptoms may change over time, so you may notice one pattern for 6 months, and then you might notice another pattern of a few months later. Some examples can be distress with small changes. So let's say, for example, every school year, the child is going to proceed to the next grade. They may have different teachers, they may have different students in their classroom. And of course, there's going to be some level of distress, but someone who has autism is going to cause them great distress just thinking about not having that same teacher that they grew to love in the current grade that they're in. They may also notice difficulties with transition. So, as I indicated, with changing your class as you go into another grade, that's a transition. And you may also notice that they may request the same food every day. They may want to eat the same, like French fries and chicken nuggets every day because they know this is what they love and this is what they can trust. And the last common diagnosis that I'm going to be discussing is depression. So once again, similar to anxiety, there are many different types of depressive disorders, but for the sake of this presentation, I'm just going to talk about major depressive disorder. And the common feature is a presence of sadness, emptiness, or just being very irritable. The mood has to impact the member's ability to function in their day-to-day life. The depressive symptoms need to be present for at least a 2-week period. And some symptoms may include just a person being sad for most of the day, nearly every day. You may notice a diminished interest in like pleasurable activity. So if a child usually likes to be social and be around their friends, and you notice that they have been withdrawn from friends, they don't want to be around friends anymore. Maybe they used to love to read a particular book from an author. If they're no longer interested in reading, that can be something that can be looked into. If you notice an inability for the child to fall asleep or they're overeating, if you notice any loss of energy, any loss of weight or gaining of weight, can all be signs of depression. But there are a lot of support that a member can get connected to, especially living in the New York City area. So if your child is exhibiting any behavioral health symptoms, not in any particular order, but I would suggest to outreach to the child's school. You want to assess if the symptoms that you are observing at home, is it the same symptoms that the child is exhibiting in school? You want to talk to the teachers, you want to talk to the guidance counselors, because there are particular services that can be put in place in school. There's something called an IEP, which is an individual evaluation plan that a member can get connected to with particular services where the child can be removed from their classroom to get connected to the appropriate services. You also want to talk to your child's pediatrician to assess if there are any particular specialists that the member can be connected to, and if your child is exhibiting age-appropriate behaviors. And then, of course, you want to outreach to your health insurance company to just assess what services can the health insurance connect your child to while also being covered by your health insurance plan. You can always call member services, which should be the number on the back of your insurance card, to ask to get connected to a care manager to be able to provide that support. They will be able to ask particular questions to identify what are the symptoms, what are the needs, and what would be the appropriate services that someone should be connected to. So one service that I wanted to discuss very high level is on the slide, it's HCBS, but it stands for Home and Community-Based Services. So it's a service that is available for children that have Medicaid, where a provider can make home and community-based services. Once the child has met criteria, because it's a kind of long process to get connected to, and just for the sake of time, I don't want to go into too much detail, but once they have met criteria, a treatment plan would be completed just to identify the goals and objectives, to identify what the provider may need to do to make sure that the member needs are met and that there's reduction in the symptoms. There are numerous HCBS services. I like to call it the umbrella of services, but there are two main services that someone can receive if they are eligible and connected to HCBS. And the first one is Plan a Respite. It's where the guardian receives a break from childcare, where the child is engaging in services and they can assist with the treatment plan, of course. And that second service is caregiver family support and services. So it's a short-term intervention to train, coach, and educate the family on any related medical, physical, and or developmental or behavioral health conditions. So an example of how someone can utilize caregiver family support and services is, let's say someone was recently diagnosed with autism. Maybe the family is confused. They've heard about autism, but they're not sure exactly what the next appropriate steps would be. The caregiver family support and service coordinator would be able to make home visits to provide that education on exactly what autism is, what autism may look like for the member based on the symptoms that they're exhibiting at that given time, and also help them to navigate the healthcare system, provide that education on the services the member can be connected to, and also to provide that advocacy on the supports that the member should be receiving based on, of course, age appropriateness. Next slide. Okay, so now I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Tricia Ross.
All right. Thank you, Kellieann, for helping families understand the basics of behavioral health and how to start connecting with care. Our next presentation comes from Dr. Tricia Ross, a speech pathologist and educator with extensive experience in child development, language acquisition, and behavioral support. Dr. Ross recorded this presentation in advance to share strategies for strengthening communication and supporting children's behavioral growth. On to Dr. Ross.
About the connection between communication and behavioral health in children. When we talk about behavior, we often focus on things like routines, consequences, rewards, or self-regulation. And those pieces matter. But what we sometimes overlook is that communication is one of the foundational pieces for a child's emotional well-being and behavior. Without communication, behavior often becomes the language. So that leads us to our first question. How does effective communication, or that foundational piece, actually support a child's behavioral health and overall well-being? Well, communication serves as a protective factor in a child's emotional and behavioral development. When children have language, whether spoken, sign language, visual through pictures, or supported through an augmentative and alternative communication device, also known as AAC, they have a way to express what they need, what they're feeling, or what they don't understand. Communication becomes a tool, not just for talking, but a pathway to advocating for themselves, building relationships, navigating difficult situations, and making sense of their world. When children can communicate, I need help, or I'm not ready, this is too loud, I need a break, we see less frustration and fewer meltdowns. We see stronger relationships, improved cooperation, and more connection. So when we support communication, even in small intentional ways, we're not just helping a child talk, we're supporting their emotional regulation and their sense of safety. Next question. What happens when a child's ability to understand language when they're experiencing emotional distress or overload? When a child is dysregulated, whether overwhelmed, anxious, overstimulated, or upset, their nervous system shifts into a protective state. So in that state, understanding language, following directions, or answering questions becomes much harder. Processing slows down, so directions feel harder, questions feel heavier. And problem solving. And this is why during escalated moments, directions need to be short, tone needs to be regulated, and sometimes silence or your presence is more effective than talking. Children cannot learn or process new language while dysregulated. So regulation must come first and communication comes after. The next question asks, how can parents use communication strategies to help their child after behavioral challenges? I recommend 3 phases. Regulate, reflect, and reteach. Step 1, regulate. This is where the adult leads with a calm presence. The goal is not to lecture or correct. The goal is safety and connection. You want to use short, grounding phrases like, you're safe, I'm here, let's breathe together, I see you're upset. And make sure your nonverbal communication, like your breathing, your tone, and your body language, matches the message. So children can often pick up our state before they even hear our words. Step 2, reflect. Once the child is calmer, then we name the experience. You can say you felt frustrated, that change was unexpected, or that was hard. Reflection builds emotional vocabulary and self-awareness, both essential for long-term regulation and behavior change. Step 3, reteach. Now we offer a replacement behavior. So for example, next time you can say, help please. Or you can ask, can I have a break? Or even if something feels too loud, you can say, I need quiet. This turns the moment into a learning opportunity rather a fight for power. The last question asks, what language-based supports can improve cooperation and reduce frustration for children with behavioral health needs? So there are a few practical tools that make communication easier, especially during transitions or challenging moments. First thing is visual supports. So like schedules, scripts, timers, first then boards. They provide predictability and reduce anxiety. You want to be using short, clear phrases. So instead of long explanations, try first this, then that. An example would be first work, then toys, or almost done, and even time for a break. Children process better when language is simple and consistent. You can also use emotion vocabulary. So teaching words like frustrated, overwhelmed, excited, disappointed, and tired helps children replace behaviors with expression. Lastly, pre-teaching. Prepare children before transitions. So, for example, in 2 minutes, we're cleaning up, or after the playground, it's lunchtime. This predictability builds trust and reduces stress. So all in all, supporting communication isn't just about words. It's about connection, safety, and giving children tools to navigate their world with confidence. And when children feel understood and equipped to express themselves, we see improved emotional regulation, stronger relationships, and healthier behavioral responses. Communication supports behavioral health because communication gives children a safer way to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ross, for those insights on how communication connects to behavioral health and how parents can use everyday strategies to support development. Now we'll turn our attention to Tyler Hackett, who is a licensed master social worker with the New York City Department of Education, who will walk us through how parents can navigate the school system and advocate for their children's needs. Tyler?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ms. Hackett, and I'm a licensed master social worker. I have been in the school system for about 6 years in various roles. Those roles consist of paraprofessional, a dean, and now I'm a school social worker. I work specifically with middle school age students, predominantly in the Black and Brown community. And today we're going to dive into school supports and IEP basics to help grow your understanding of how these elements play a part in the school system, because they do play a vital part and they can help your child throughout their day-to-day in school. All right, so we're going to head over to what we will be covering today. We're going to be covering available school-based supports for your scholar, IEP basics and how they help, how to request a school evaluation because that is necessary for an IEP. We're also going to speak about 504 plans and when they are used and how they differ from an IEP because it's easy to get confused between the two. And then lastly, we're going to talk about parent rights in the school process and how we loop in teachers in the school team so that we are all on one accord, which is very important in the educational process as well. So I've created school-based support lists. This is not an exhausted list. These are some things that you've probably seen or heard about. Again, it's not an exhausted list, so there are way more school-based supports that can be found. Some of these supports are OT, which is occupational therapists. We have speech, we have counseling, we have ICT. ICT is basically where there is more than one teacher in the classroom. We have sets. Sets is where students are being pulled out for smaller group settings. We have modified assignments. We have BIPs. BIPs are behavioral intervention plans. We have paraprofessionals. Paraprofessionals can be medical and it could also be behavioral. We have ELL supports for the babies who do not speak English and English is their second language. We have extended time on tests and we have assisted technology. Again, not an exhausted list, but here are some things that you possibly have seen before. All right, let's go into IEP basics. So what is an IEP? An IEP is literally self-explanatory. It is an individualized educational plan. And what that means is it's designed solely for the individual student based on their needs at the moment. This plan can be included, but not limited to, the list that we saw before. I'll go back to the list just to refresh our memory. These are some things that the planned IEP plan can include. Again, not an exhausted list, but here are some things. All right, we're going to jump right back. And so a lot of people want to know, well, how do you go about getting an IEP for your child? What's the process? What's the steps? It may look and sound scary at first, but I promise you, once we walk through this process, it will come off very easy. Okay, so what you need in order to get an IEP for your child is an evaluation. Evaluations can either take place in the school or outside resource. Some schools provide school evaluations while others do not, and that's only because if they have a specialist on site. Some schools do and some schools don't, and that's okay. So if a school does provide an evaluation, the parent would just need to sign off on consent to conduct the evaluation. And if a school does not provide it, the school can recommend an evaluation and a specific location for the parent. The parent would then take their child to the site where they will be getting evaluated, and they will go for the appointment and do it there. So depending on the result of the evaluation, that will determine whether or not the child is eligible for an IEP. A student has to fall within one of the 13 disability categories to be eligible for an IEP. Here are the categories. There's 13 of them. So it's autism, deafness, deafness with blindness, emotional disturbance, hearing impairment, intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, which means it's a combination of multiple things, orthopedic impairment, other health impairment such as ADHD, diabetes, epilepsy, specific learning disability, which can be dyslexia, and others, speech or language impediment, traumatic brain injury, or visual impairment. Again, the child has to be classified under one of the 13 disabilities or more in order to be eligible for an IEP. So now we're going to move on to 504 plans. So a 504 plan is an educational plan that allows students to have equal access to learning. So how are they used? Some people might ask. A child must have a physical or mental impairment. Now, you're probably thinking, well, isn't this the same as an IEP? How does a 504 differ from an IEP? So I'll tell you, 504 plans only provides accommodations for the disability if it is impacting a major life activity where an IEP can include specialized instruction. So for example, right, let's say we have a student who's epileptic and they can benefit from a 504 plan. They would be able to receive a health para for accommodations. Whereas in an IEP, they would have specialized instruction. You don't need specialized instruction for somebody who is epileptic. What you need is accommodations to support them throughout the day, which is why a 504 plan would be best used in that situation. All right, now we're going to jump into parental rights and school process and working with teachers and staff. This is like the major key throughout the whole process because it cannot be done alone. Parents, we need you, and parents, you need us, right? So we need each other to really make this process smooth and comfortable for the child who is at stake here. So throughout this whole process, parental consent is always needed. We cannot do anything without the parents' consent. So for example, well, I am a school social worker and I observe children. And it's been times where I would think this child could possibly benefit from an IEP. However, it's important to always observe students not only in their instructional classes, but during lunch and recess where they are most themselves. And for me, I'm collecting that data and that information in order to relate the information to the parent. So that way I'm not going to the parent just saying, hey, I think your child could benefit from an IEP, which is crazy, right? It's important to have that observation and that information. So when you are going to the parent and you are having these discussions, you are able to tell the parent, what we have observed, what we've seen, what we think would best support that child. Now, there are situations where parents do not believe in IEPs or they don't think the child will benefit from it. And that's okay, that's their prerogative. But we do just want to make sure that we are having these conversations with the parents and enlightening them and informing them on the resources and the tools that we do have on our end to help the child. If a parent does not want a student to have an IEP, it is okay. Like I said before, what we can do as teachers and staff is just, see where the students' gaps are and help fill those gaps as much as we can without disrespecting or without embedding on what the parent wants for that child. Now, with the students who do have IEPs, what we do, or what we like to make sure that it is done so we are all on one accord. Remember, I said it's important that the whole school building is on one accord. We loop the teachers in, we loop the staff members in to make sure that the IEP is being held up with fidelity. So even though I am the school social worker, it is a part of my job to make sure that the IEP is read by the teacher so that they know what services this child is entitled to. So that way the child's needs are being met. I truly hope this information has helped anybody who has had questions about school supports and IEP based things. Like I said, we like to be on one page, one accord, and I do hope if you have any questions, please just drop them in the comment box and I will be able to answer it somewhere down the line. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyler, for dropping those nuggets and gems for parents to utilize and know how to better advocate for their students. Before we wrap up, I want to remind everyone that caring for your child also means caring for yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup. It's okay to take a moment, breathe, and reset when things get overwhelming. Parenting isn't meant to be done alone. So lean on your support when you need it and celebrate the small wins, not only for your child, but for yourself as well. Next slide, please. I just wanted to share some additional resources that can help you after today. These are places where you can learn more about behavioral health, school support, and services available to families. Feel free to screenshot or jot down anything that stands out to you. Remember, you don't have to figure everything out on your own. There are tools and people ready to help. Next slide, please. Take a moment to think about what has been discussed so far as we prepare for our panel of experts. Feel free to submit any questions in the chat and we'll go from there. I'd like to take a minute to thank all of our speakers, Ms. Kellieann Jatta, Dr. Tricia Ross, and Ms. Tyler Hackett. It was a blessing, major blessings to have you guys here with us tonight. And our feedback survey, our feedback poll, excuse me, was just shared. So please take a minute or two and fill it out for us. Let us know how we did. Let us know if we satisfied your questions that might have came up for you. And this information is really helpful to us on how we can do better and how we can better help you guys in the future. Thank you so much. All right, next slide, please. All right, we're gonna move on to the Q&A. If you have any questions, you can just drop them in the chat. If you have a question specifically for Dr. Ross or Miss Tyler Hackett, please still put them in the chat, but notate somewhere in your question for Dr. Ross, for Miss Hackett. That way we can get the answers from them and get back to you with the answers in a timely fashion. All right, so one of the questions, what helps parents and children feel comfortable and trust the behavioral health process, especially if they've had negative experiences before? Kellieann, do you want to answer that one?
Sorry, I had problems coming off of mute. Can you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. What helps parents and children feel comfortable and trust the behavioral health process, especially if they've had negative experiences before?
Okay, thank you. I think that's a great question because sometimes we have noticed that if you had a negative experience, you may not want to pursue that situation again. If you had a negative experience with a behavioral health provider, you may think all behavioral health providers are the same. And I would say the first thing is knowing what you are comfortable with. You can go about it in like many different avenues. One aspect can be like escalating it to the person supervisor if they do have a supervisor that they report to just let them know the incident that happened to identify if you can potentially get connected to someone else within the agency, especially because they may already have like all of your information. You may have already completed an intake. If they do not have a supervisor or you just want to not continue with that agency, I would say there are plenty other behavioral health agencies within the New York City area that you can get connected to and just continue to advocate for yourself. It is a difficult situation getting connected to a behavioral health provider, especially for Black and Brown folks who may not be used to it. So you want to make sure that if it's something that you feel uncomfortable with, if you are not comfortable with seeking that support and telling that person directly to not hinder yourself or hinder your child and continue to look for that appropriate support that is needed.
Thank you, Kellyanne. The next question, how do cultural beliefs and family traditions shape how parents think about behavioral health care, and how can professionals respond sensitively? I'll take this question if you don't mind, Kellyann.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes. So I believe that culture and tradition shape us as individuals in who we are, especially being from a city like New York City. It's kind of inevitable to run from the different cultures. Being from New York City, we're blessed to be a part of an amazing melting pot. However, I think as professionals, we need to maintain cultural competency when dealing with families and individuals. And I think it doesn't only go into cultural competency, but it also goes further and deeper, also touching on religion a little bit as well. Um, so for me, when I was a school social worker in the Department of Education, I would always do research around, okay, if the family was Caribbean, if the family was African, um, is it more respectful for me to interact with the husband? Or is it seem disrespectful because I'm a woman and that is somebody's husband? So just things that seem so minute to us here in America, especially if we are American or if it doesn't apply in our culture, just doing the extra research to respect someone's culture or religion help us go the extra mile, and it helps build rapport. And that might make the process of advocacy, especially in a situation where the family is not on board with obtaining an IEP, or they have this attitude of a stigma surrounding the help for their child. I think when we do the extra research to show that, okay, I'm being culturally competent, I'm being respectful of you guys' culture and your religion, um, it shows a sense of care outside of respect. And in doing so, my mom always says you can catch more flies with honey. So I think it's the same thing where if you show the respect, if you show even a sense of gratitude for their culture, you're more likely to be able to speak to the family on a very common ground and seek help for the children in a way that's needed. You'll be surprised how you can I hate to use the word change, but you'll be so surprised how you can convince a family as to why these services are important and imperative to their students' developmental and academic growth.
I also just wanted to add on really quickly to what you said, Shana, that it's also okay to educate your provider as well too. You don't want to assume that because they did the research, they understand your culture or your religion and understand like the end all be all. So it's okay to provide a little education to them as well too and say like this is how we do it, particularly in my family or particularly in my culture. And when you see that they're receptive to the information that you have provided to them, that also shows a bond that you have created with them as well too. Because we all know not everything that we read online is accurate to whatever culture we are from. And you don't want to just assume that maybe because the person is like black or brown and they may look like you, that they have the same upbringing or this similar understanding that you have for yourself, for your family, or from your upbringing as well. So I just wanted to add that piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kellyann. So the next question we have is when a parent feels their concerns are not being heard by the school, what steps can they take to advocate effectively?
I don't mind taking that question.
Yeah, please.
Um, so when the first thing you want to always do is continue to escalate. So if you speak to the guidance counselor and you feel like your child needs are not being addressed, try to see if you can schedule a meeting with the principal. If you notice that you're unable to meet with the principal or the assistant principal, then you can meet with the district. The district that your child resides in, they are demanded, they should provide service to your child, even if the school can't do so. So one thing that I feel like is under the radar that a lot of people don't really know about, your child may be going to a public school, but if the public school is unable to meet the needs of your child, the district is supposed to pay for like private school education so your child can receive that support that they need. It's not going to be an overnight process, unfortunately, and there's a lot of advocacy that you have to do to make sure that your child receives that support that is needed. But once they get connected to the appropriate school, let's say it's a private school setting that is able to provide the support that your child needs, the district is going to pay for that. It is not going to be anything that's going to come out of your pocket per se.
Thank you, Kellyanne, for that. So we have another question, and this question is specifically for you, Kellyanne. What is your opinion on a child having an IEP?
I think if the child needs an IEP, I don't see anything wrong with getting connected to an IEP. An IEP can be adjusted anytime within the school year. It is mandatory for the IEP to be adjusted on a yearly basis. So I would say take that time, make sure that you meet with the guidance counselor, make sure that you meet with the principals, the psychologists, and anyone else who's a part of that process to make sure that your child get the support that is needed. And they may need an IEP for elementary school and potentially they get to junior high school and they don't need the IEP anymore because they were able to get the support that they need at a young age. And it's not something that they may need as they get older. And even if they do need it, you would prefer your child to get the support that is needed at a younger age than to potentially be struggling as an adult. So I think definitely advocate and get those IEP or 504 plan if it is needed.
Definitely. Thank you, Kellyanne. I'm going to piggyback on that question a little bit in full transparency because I believe transparency is best. And a lot of times when we interact with people at the school, the teachers, the principals, everything, they sometimes as parents, we don't look at them as just such as people, and they are our equal. They have families, they pay bills just like we do. They're navigating life just like we are. So, in full transparency, both of my children have IEPs. So, for me, and I have a son in third grade and I have a daughter in kindergarten. In full transparency, both of my kids have had IEPs since kindergarten. So, my son got his at the end of kindergarten, and my daughter got hers at the beginning of kindergarten. And I got it for specifically behavioral health need, what would be considered a social emotional IEP. And the difference that I've seen in my son from kindergarten to now third grade, he can articulate himself, he can advocate for himself, he can now say, I'm feeling frustrated. I need help. These were things that in kindergarten he would just sit there and cry. And as a parent that was also working in the school system as well, I wasn't working at his school, but I was working in the school system as well. Um, I felt like it's very unfair to put my child in a classroom where, and thankfully his school at the time did ICT, where it was two teachers and maybe about 25 students in the classroom. So I felt like the ratio was okay. But when you get into Department of Education, you might have one teacher to 32 students and sometimes even two to 30, which is a little harder. So I felt like it was very unfair and unrealistic for me to put my son with his big feelings into this classroom and expect the teacher to maintain the flow of the day, give all these little people the attention they needed, plus grade, plus go home, plus probably show up for her own family and children. I think it's completely unrealistic. So a lot of times um it's not, because a lot of people say there's nothing wrong with my children. But I think that for me in those cases, the the IEP was a cushion to help my child have those good days and learn in the best environment that he needed to get through those days. And I see those same behaviors in my daughter now, and I feel like she needs that cushion to help her get through those days and make her build her academic success. So that will be the last question we are taking for tonight. I want to next slide, please. So I wanted to touch on our key takeaways. You know your child best. Your voice matters. Trust what you see. Behavior is communication. As Dr. Ross talked about, kids show their feelings through actions. Getting help early makes a big difference. So, for those of you that might have children that are not even in the public school system as yet, early intervention might be the best route for you to go versus having to wait till kindergarten to get an IEP. You are not alone. There are people and programs that can support your family. School and providers can work together to help your child's success. Small steps help. Routines, calm communication, and support at home makes things easier. Next slide, please. All right. So if you can take you can scan the QR codes. These are ways to stay in touch. And if you can't scan it, just screenshot it with your phone and then maybe you can scan it at a later time. Um, Thank you again to all of our speakers, all of our attendees. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge Harlem Health Initiative, the New York City Department of Education, Fidelis Care, and Charlie Health. A recording and resource sheet will be emailed after the event. Stay connected with Harlem Health Initiative for upcoming sessions.